Human rights were on the agenda on the just completed visit of Australia's Foreign Minister Bob Carr to Myanmar. Not so much the behaviour of the authorities as the religious violence which has plagued the country for much of the past 12 months. Hundreds of people have died in clashes between Buddhists and Muslims since the fighting broke out last year. And now one Buddhist monk has become the unlikely face of a growing anti-Muslim movement. Oscar Sabakti reports.
It's not every day hundreds of Buddhist monks take to the streets in protest. These are supporters of Myanmar's radical monk, U Wirathu, the man Time magazine has dubbed the Face of Buddhist Terror. This rally has been sanctioned by the government, which banned sales of the magazine in response to the cover story about the anti-Muslim leader.
I worry that the story from this magazine will bring more unnecessary clashes between different religions.
Based in Mandalay, Wirathu heads the so-called 969 movement, which is fast gaining momentum across Myanmar. It's a Buddhist movement. The numbers 969 refer to the virtues of Buddha, the practices of the faith and the community. It sounds like it should be a peaceful organisation, but it's come to embody a rabid nationalistic and religious sentiment used to stir up hatred against minorities, mainly the country's Muslim community. Members of 969 call for Myanmar's Buddhists to band together to defend their faith and to do business only with other Buddhists, excluding Muslims who have a strong tradition as merchants in Myanmar. Buddhists make up around 90% of the population, while around 5% are Muslim. Wirathu's sermons play on the fear among some Buddhists of a rising Muslim population.
Myanmar is a pluralistic society where multiracial and multi-religious people are living together, and a majority of them are Theravada Buddhists, and Buddhism has a very strong influence on the people, and due to this fact it can be a cohesive force for the people for uniting.
But Wirathu is a polarising figure even among his fellow Buddhists. Last month he joined around 200 other monks in Yangon to discuss ways to end rising religious violence, which began in Rakhine State last year between Buddhists and Rohingya Muslims. Here, Wirathu, who's accused of fanning the tensions, announced one of his more controversial proposals, a law restricting marriages between Buddhists and Muslims.
This law is my dream. I've given speeches like this in different places so that we could propose this law.
Senior leaders at the meeting have distanced themselves from the proposal, but Wirathu and his followers are determined to present the idea to Parliament.
This marriage law means Myanmar girls can marry people of different religions, but their future husbands have to become Buddhist. When Myanmar girls get married to Muslim men, they are pressured to convert to Islam. So this marriage law will prevent this and protect our society.
Wirathu has a history of inflaming religious tensions. In 2003, he was sentenced to 25 years in prison by the previous ruling junta for inciting religious hatred, but he was released last year under a general amnesty. His proposed interfaith marriage law has been condemned by the opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi and other groups.
We perceive this law as sexist, because totally focus on the women, and actually the marriage is not just only women affair, but also both men's and women affairs. But the law is just only focused on the women. The concept of this law is based on the sexist and also, on the other hand, nationalism.
But the law does have its supporters. Around 1,500 monks across the country have endorsed the proposal, and women are also gathering signatures in support of Wirathu's law.
Buddhist women tend to be patient and don't go against what's happening, so they're tolerant and submissive. In the beginning, Buddhist women don't see Muslims as being from a different religious background, so they treat them as neighbours or friends.
Wirathu and his followers blame the recent religious violence on Myanmar's Muslims. Since last year's clashes in Rakhine, which left nearly 200 dead, the violence has spread to other parts of the country, including the northeastern town of Lashio and the central city of Mektila.
Some angry mob passed through the police line and dragged the Muslim youth and killed in front of them, in front of me. During my stay, about half an hour, 45 minutes there, 7 people were killed.
Most of the victims have been Muslim, but so far only Muslims have been jailed. Wirathu says restrictions on interfaith marriages will reduce religious violence.
If Muslims cannot marry Buddhist girls easily, their population will decrease, like in the case of Rakhine State, where they have higher population of Muslims. Where they have more Muslims, there is more violence.
The rising religious tensions in Myanmar have marred the country's much applauded transition to democracy. On a visit to Myanmar this week, Australia's Foreign Minister Bob Carr met with President Thein Sein and Aung San Suu Kyi, with the issue of religious violence high on his agenda. And there are growing calls for the country's newfound friends, such as the United States and Europe, as well as fellow ASEAN members, to pressure Myanmar's leaders to act.
They have to exert more leverage on the leadership in Myanmar to dampen, to resist and turn back these extremist campaigns led by the 969 movement. Otherwise, we will see more violence, the death toll will climb, and the road to 2015 will be very unruly and unconducive to a clean, free and fair election.